Public Works has its own fund, so I think that theirs ought to come out of their own fund. EMS has its own fund, so their building stuff should come out of their own fund. That one's a little different because it's a building inside of a building, but that's a whole different question. Public Works has got their fund that we gotta make work for.
And we have bought some of their stuff out of our sales tax, you know, it's just, it's whatever you guys agree to, but I think that concept of keeping it within that same fund, you know, we currently do not have anything other than the purchases that they want with the vehicles, and I forget what else
Whose
is on that
vehicles?
list. The sheriff,
You have that in general, or you have that coming out of their own?
their own fund.
Okay.
There has been past years.
Yeah,
that
because we
paid
did
for
it
that.
before to try to get them back in the flag.
Right.
I guess the thing you get into there is if it's not a contingency and they don't have to move it into capital improvements, what keeps them from spending it on? That's not building related.
So in turn, then you just have to make sure their reserve stays a reserve, I guess, budget wise, right?
I mean, that at least restricts it to where they would have to come ask for it to be moved if it's something beyond what you approved for their current capital improvements.
Say that again, I'm lost.
So if you wanted to put a building reserve in their capital improvement line, you would just add that to what they currently have in their budget. But there's nothing restricting it at that point. It's in a capital improvement line. If they want to spend it on a capital improvement, they can. It's not saying it has to be a building capital improvement.
What's a capital improvement that's not a building?
Huh? Well, that's where their vehicles are. That's where like radio repeaters, that's where servers, you know, any of that is considered a capital improvement.
Must be that extends the line for 5 years at least before it's considered capital.
We would have to be very particular about the naming of a separate line or something to restrict that money to be only spent on major projects for the building.
Or in turn, if
Leave it
you,
in contingency.
or start back up the admin fee, the 3% admin fee, and then we put that in a fund within general fund as a reserve account for law enforcement. Either way. Or again, reduce our money transferred to them.
Let's take a look at the 20 year before we try to do anything, but I mean, I think, I think it's good, oh, you are looking at 20 years. I think it's good to be thinking about these things until they kind of get their fleet, cars updated. You know, maybe here at some point we can scale that back some. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know.
The biggest thing is when you add people, you're not gonna go backwards.
Right,
You're just
right,
gonna keep
exactly.
Going forward.
But,
What are you thinking of, fleet, or what are you thinking of, fleet, or the people?
No, I was just talking about putting a reserve in their budget. We need
Oh.
to think carefully about how we do that. And even if you're talking about what you were talking about, putting an admin fee and moving it back to general fund, we have to be very careful with that because then, right now, general fund is not restricted unless you guys restrict money for a certain purpose. If you're going to word it that way, you are then going to be restricting that money for that purpose. So,
so you got the
But that's
bottom
where you would
there,
restrict the
Yes.
part, really.
By going with what we spent out of there and where our cash balance is and what Christian has in there for the budget, we are, obviously, the end of this year will be, assuming we will break even because our budget balance is right now. Going forward, keeping those same totals and putting a percent on revenue and expenses, we should go in the negative. Not to say that we will, but it will continue up until that last year. When the bond is then paid off, the bond would be paid off and our sales tax would be reduced to 3/8%. This way, I'm pretty sure it's 3/8. And then we'll be back to, you talked about cutting it close, back up to 20,000.
But you have to realize here too, so I did very restrictive, conservative going
Yeah.
forward. There's no growth in sales tax. There's no growth in I think we did grow federal prisoners. We did not grow mental health. We didn't use that contract. I did not grow grants. Did you change? Yeah, grants are not growing. So we were very
So
conservative
you didn't grow
with,
sales tax at all.
right, no growth in sales tax at all.
And
So-
the other expenses at 1.5,
The-
and
Yeah.
we had a revenue at 1, other than what was restricted.
So, yeah, the projections going forward there are very conservative.
So you're actually less in 16 than you were in 15,
On,
sales tax. 1.975, oh, no, okay.
No, it's the same.
Yeah,
So it's going forward the same as 15 actual projected.
okay.
and so you know that a lot can affect that, obviously.
So you're saying 15's gonna be the same as 14, which surely there'll be some growth there.
Well,
No, 15 projected. So what we think we're checking to figure in. So that 5635, we're projecting 15 to be at the 5876. But then that 5876 is holding from that point forward. No growth.
I was looking at the very top line. 1.99.
That's their
Right.
transfer, so it
Oh, that's the
fluctuated this year
transfer.
based on the Maximus study of what their capital, computer services was. So Maximus actually decreased their computer services amount, so that the GR subsidy actually went up. in-
No, there's the same tax down there.
budget for,
And again, we used the more conservative federal prisoner dollar amount.
Is that out on the test drive too, Debbie?
yes. And so in turn, right here's where you see from annualized here to what's projected with the 3 new positions there, and then another new position up here. Oh, I'm sorry, so.
So that's with all 4 positions in there?
Yes.
What are those 4 positions gonna cost us?
About 183,000 a year with benefits. 131 and.
Let me scroll down to the bottom. So their fund has been very healthy, more healthy than we expected it to be. So if you look at that revenue over expenditures, reserve balance is growing. So last year we had 912,000. This year we're projecting them to have a surplus of 861. I looked this morning, it's probably gonna be slightly more than that. So they have a very healthy fund at the moment. They're actually not spending everything we're budgeting, or they're bringing in more revenue, one or the other. So their cash balance is growing at the moment. I don't see that trend stopping.
I think a lot of that's from here to here, from no increase to 4%, and of course,
Cash balance is growing about 800,000.
So if you would continue to see a growth in sales tax, so that would go to the top and plug in just kind of 2% growth in sales tax. And then go back down and look at the bottom dollar.
I don't think I can keep those figures out of there.
So it should still go up. So just a 2% growth in sales tax makes
Takes
the
out
fund,
the
takes that deficit out. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you that we're gonna guarantee 2% growth.
Right.
But that fund can fluctuate quite a bit with just a little bit of a change.
back to having the 911 out of there at 50%. The only thing lacking is this or any kind of reserve on the building itself. And we did take it out the first couple of years until the lawsuit. I mean, I can bring you all those figures again, but definitely this is a 20-year look. And the bonds are paid off. And it's very subjective as far as.
What is J there? That's what you're-
Eight. Well, I don't think that was a full, that wasn't a full year.
Yeah, he wanted a full year.
No, 4.9 to 5.8. Saved that. I know I mean, definitely picked up some prisoners, but we also, building that center before that, we were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to other counties to house our prisoners. All in all, I mean, it is good. That fund is good right now.
I want to inquire, well,
All right, sorry.
and I have to go, I got to, sorry, I got to go to the rest.
All right, so
That's your Wednesday.
Back here Wednesday.
Recess until,
Where's their- So moved.
Second.
favor?
Aye.
all right, if you guys can think of anything else you want to see before Wednesday, let me know. We'll get that list together. Good.
Gone, but another one.
Everybody's good.
One list.
Okay. What?
All those
All the
Out of
other
the
ones.
spreadsheet?
Yeah, so EMS should have a spreadsheet. Public
Already
Works should
changed
have a
it.
spreadsheet. Mayor's just got new.
That's spreadsheet.
Huh? And make sure.
Where did you have the sheriff's 20-year at?
It's under the 2016,
Bring it out.
under commission, under finance. Yeah.
I'll probably go down, I'll go down 54 and take Route D. Trying to think where I'll be at for sure.
Law enforcement financing strategy.
Yes.
Down Route C and,
First you go out C to D and then
yeah, I'll pick,
D to.
Yeah.
you'll come to a real sharp curve,
Yeah.
going to the left, I think, and Bonboard comes off to the right.
Yeah, that's Millbrook
That is Millbrook that comes off onto D.
there.
And then it turns
Yeah,
to
I
Vaughn
mean, if you
Ford
go
or something.
past Millbrook and then Vaughn Ford's gonna be off to your right there.
If you go up to B, you can get right off on the border.
Well, yeah. Either way, it's on your right if you
Coming off the
come,
C.
coming from C, it's on your left if you
Just turn by the Low and Go
54.
or stop and drop.
Probably quicker coming from 54. Maybe.
Yeah, I'd say it's quicker to go 54 than to go down Route C, especially on that one.
54 to D.
Yep.
What time you say it was, 2:30?
215.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do Wednesday?
I'm gonna get the capital all on one list for you. And then I'll get the salaries all on one list, from what's already in there to what's been requested, and you guys, if you guys, you could be done with it.
I doubt that.
Well, other than all the carry forward balances and stuff.
Sorry.
Or we can always send the evaluation they're due in December 15th.
We're needing to do those too. I emailed about that.
I'll get you the form.
Y'all evaluate yourselves and we'll take a look at it and see if we agree.
Stop it. I think that was a terrible idea. Was that Mark's idea one year?
Huh? Oh, it's my idea. I don't have
Oh,
to sit
that
down
was
and do
yours?
it.
Self-evaluation.
I'm too critical.
Your evaluation's gonna say the same thing it does over here. You need to pass off some of the stuff, quit trying to take it all yourself.
Yeah.
Well, she's gonna have to do that. She's gonna be here night and day.